Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are taking a really structured look at one of the most critical roles in any business, but also one of the most, well, misunderstood.
Product management.
Exactly, product management or PM. And if you've ever wondered what a product manager really does, what separates a great one from, say, a project coordinator, then this is for you.
It is fascinating, isn't it? Because you hear that term, mini CEO, thrown around a lot.
All the time.
But that title, it almost never comes with the actual authority or the budget of a CEO. And that right there creates this really unique organizational puzzle.
It does. And to solve it, we're diving into some fantastic source material today. It's a professional training document, module 1 of 8, from a big curriculum at a major industrial company.
And that's what's great about it. It's designed to cut right through all that ambiguity.
Absolutely. This isn't just abstract theory. It's a practical framework built for large global companies. It defines the role, sure, but more importantly, it gives us a clear cyclical system for how PMs are supposed to achieve sustainable financial success.
And that system is called the PM Star.
The PM Star. That's the core of our deep dive today.
It really is. I think of this framework as a kind of shortcut. It helps you understand the structure and the strategic thinking you need to survive in a role where you're constantly juggling.
Juggling short-term firefighting with, what, a multi-year vision.
Precisely. So our mission today is to decode that PM Star, to really understand the high-stakes game of leading a cross-functional team when you have no formal authority, and then to walk through the 7-step cycle that's designed to lock in profitability.
Okay, let's start at the beginning then. Let's unpack the definition of product management that our source material gives us. It seems to be built on 3 foundational pillars.
That's right. And it aligns really well with established industry thinking, like from Stephen Haynes' work. The idea is that if a role doesn't have all 3 of these elements, it's probably not true product management.
So pillar number 1, the holistic perspective. This is the famous helicopter view.
And this right away sets a very high bar. The PM just cannot afford to get lost in the weeds.
Lost in the details of an engineering spec or, the daily sales numbers.
Exactly. They have to understand both, of course. But their job is to maintain that high-level, overarching view of their product. And not just their product, but their entire portfolio in the context of the market.
And when they say high level, they also mean long-term. The view has to be exhaustive. We're not talking about managing a 6-month project.
No. We're talking about managing the entire product life cycle.
The entire life cycle. So that means the PM's responsibility starts the second the product is just an idea.
A glimmer in someone's eye, yeah.
All the way through to the very end, when it's officially discontinued, pulled from the market, maybe even recycled.
And that cradle-to-grave ownership, that's really the source of so much of the strategic tension in the role. I mean, if you give the green light to a product today, you're also signing up to manage its service contracts and its disposal, 10, maybe 15 years from now.
That's a great point. That long-term responsibility has to change how you make decisions at the very beginning.
It has to.
Which leads us right into the second concept, the second pillar, cross-functional team interdependence.
Right. Because the PM owns that whole life cycle and the strategy, they are, by definition, completely dependent on every other specialized function in the company.
R&D, sales, operations, finance.
All of them. They need them to actually implement the decisions. You can think of the PM as the nucleus, but they need all those specialized cells around them to actually function.
So a successful PM is someone who knows they get nothing done on their own.
Nothing. They have to build and then lead a really effective cross-functional team, which, as we're about to see, is a huge political and communication challenge.
Because they don't have formal command over most of the people on that team.
Exactly.
And that brings us to the final pillar, the ultimate North Star for a product manager. The financial return driver.
Yes. For all the talk about innovation, about delighting the customer, which is important.
Of course.
In a commercial business, the PM's primary drive has to be the financial outcome.
This is where the rubber meets the road.
It really is. The source material is very explicit here. It says that PMs often lack formal budget authority. They aren't the ones signing off on the multi-million-dollar factory upgrades.
Right.
And yet, their core duty is to increase revenue, to grow market share, and to secure sustainable profitability. They have to influence those multi-million-dollar decisions using only their data, their influence, and the clarity of their strategy.
That's a massive organizational insight right there.
It is.
It's a huge shift from that traditional top-down management style. They're driving the business outcomes, but purely by wielding influence.
And if we tie this back to that life cycle view, the training material makes a really critical point here. It says a lot of traditional PM work has been way too focused on the next big thing.
The next generation of products.
Shiny object syndrome,
Well,
exactly.
the new launch gets all the press, all the glory, and the older products just get left behind.
Left to wither, yeah. But the source is really clear. A huge amount of a company's profitability comes from rigorously managing the existing portfolio.
Through all its phases, growth, maturity, decline.
All of them. This means you need to be driving specific activities for each phase. Maybe it's an aggressive cost reduction project for a mature product, or a carefully planned retirement for a declining one. It's not just about pouring all your resources into R&D for the future.
So it's the total health of the entire product family, not just the star players, that guarantees that sustainable profitability year after year.
That's the key.
So, okay, if that's the high-level strategic definition, let's talk about the daily reality. Our source describes the PM role as being this necessary interlayer.
Right. They're constantly stuck between the front-end organization, so sales, marketing, the customers.
And the back-end organization,
Mhm.
R&D, operations, supply chain, they live right in the middle.
And living in the middle means you are constantly being stretched in two different directions. The PM is, at the same time, expected to deal with all the short-term stuff, the famous firefighting.
The tactical triage. A customer is furious about a quality issue.
Or production has a supply shortage.
Or sales needs a custom price quote, like yesterday. The PM has to jump in and coordinate a fix. They become the ultimate internal diplomat when things go sideways.
But then, right after putting out that fire, they're expected to pivot, to switch gears completely to the long-term, strategic stuff.
So they have to step back, maybe synthesize that fire they just fought into a bigger risk assessment, and then provide these high-level views on future development.
And report on strategic progress to management.
That dual responsibility seems incredibly demanding. You're living in this daily chaos, but you're also supposed to be maintaining a 5-year vision.
It is. It means you need that tactical awareness from the front lines to make sure your strategy is grounded in reality.
And you need the strategic clarity so that daily chaos doesn't completely derail the long-term plan.
Which is why their network of relationships is just absolutely vital. To manage that insane flow of tasks and information, the PM has to rely on a structured cross-functional team, the CFT.
And the CFT isn't just, a group email list.
No, not at all. It's a dedicated team, a standing team, that's there to drive the big, complex initiatives. A new product launch, a huge cost-out project across multiple factories. That's CFT work.
And this is where we get to that core organizational insight, the political reality of the job. PMs have to lead without authority.
Right. They don't manage the engineers or the financial controllers or the sales directors on that team, not in a hierarchical sense.
So they can't just issue orders. If the head of R&D disagrees with the timeline, the PM can't just say, too bad, do it anyway.
No. This means they have to have exceptional skills in networking, in relationship building, and, really critically, in building strong informal relations across the entire organization.
Their power comes from what? The quality of their data.
The quality of their data, the clarity of their vision, and the personal trust they've built up over time.
That is a massive soft skill requirement.
Yeah.
You have to be persuasive, data-driven, and politically smart all at once.
You do.
Let's break down who is actually on this CFT based on the visual in our source. It's a real cross-section of the company.
It's a huge orbit of people.
Yeah.
At the top, you have management for oversight. Then you have the front-facing groups.
So marketing, sales,
And what the source calls the relevant POS/BUS units.
which in a big industrial company like this stands for points of sale or business units.
Exactly. The people on the ground who are actually responsible for selling the product in different regions.
So they bring the customer and market reality to the table every day. Then you move to the back-end complexity.
Right. You've got the developer, or R&D, for technical feasibility. You've got operations for manufacturing efficiency, and supply management for raw materials and logistics.
And we can't forget after sales and service, who are giving you all that crucial feedback on quality issues in the field.
And maybe most importantly for the PM's North Star, you have the controller.
Let's pause on the controller for a second because their role here is really specific.
It's absolutely necessary. They are not just an accountant in this context. They're providing the critical financial perspective. They manage the cost centers. They run the variance analysis.
They're the ones telling the PM exactly where the product is failing to meet its margin targets.
Precisely. They translate the PM's strategic goals into hard numbers.
So let's play this out. The PM wants to launch a new product. They need the developer to build it, operations to make it, sales to sell it, and the controller to prove it's actually going to make money.
That's the puzzle.
What happens if the controller and the developer are at odds over the cost of a critical component? How does a PM, who has no formal authority over either of them, break that stalemate?
By using the data. By using the information they gathered in step 1 of the PM star, which we'll get to. The PM has to demonstrate that their strategic plan is the clearest path to the goal they all share.
Which is sustainable profitability.
Right. They have to show the developer how a small cost optimization unlocks a huge volume opportunity that helps R&D's budget down the line. And they show the controller that a specific investment in quality today dramatically reduces service costs tomorrow. It's all about strategic justification and building consensus. It's not about command.
This intense focus on leading the CFT, it all comes back to that ultimate measure of success. Profitability. The source is unequivocal on this. It's the core of the PM's job.
And they can't delegate it. They're the holistic owner of that product's financial performance. And to optimize it, they have to be pulling on 3 different levers at the same time.
Cost, price, and volume.
All 3.
Let's talk about that interdependence for a second. Why can't a PM just, say, raise the price if they need more profit?
Because price affects volume, and volume affects cost. If you just unilaterally raise the price, you might lose customers, your volume goes down.
Which means operations might lose their economies of scale.
Exactly. And your unit costs actually go up, which could completely wipe out the benefit of the price increase.
And on the other side, if the PM pushes operations to cut costs too aggressively,
You might introduce quality problems, which then skyrockets your service costs and completely destroys your brand's reputation for the future.
so the PM is driving this optimization across the entire value chain. Just to pull those 3 levers, they need deep collaboration with at least 3 major parts of the company.
At least. Increasing volume. You need sales to buy in and commit resources. Lowering costs. That's operations and supply management. Changing the price. That requires marketing and sales to be totally aligned on the value proposition.
The PM has to synthesize all of that, and this holistic perspective means they're not just judged on this quarter's profit and loss statement.
No, they're responsible for optimizing based on forward-looking qualitative indicators too.
Like what, for example?
Well, crucial metrics like customer feedback, often measured with something like an NPS, a Net Promoter Score, and also internal data on chronic quality issues.
So a great profit margin this quarter, if it's based on cutting corners on quality, is basically just a delayed bankruptcy notice.
You could look at it that way, yeah. The PM is responsible for balancing those short-term financial wins with long-term quality and satisfaction. That's what makes the profit sustainable. It's the ultimate balancing act.
Okay, so we've established that the PM has a nearly impossible job.
It can feel that way.
Driving financial results through influence, managing daily chaos while holding a long-term vision, navigating politics without formal power. An impossible job needs a very structured tool set.
And that's exactly where the PM star comes in.
The PM star. It's the formal, structured response to that chaotic reality.
It is. The source is very specific here. It's defined as a holistic framework. It captures all the critical areas that affect product management. And, this is an important distinction, it is explicitly not a process.
Not a process, so it's not a linear, step-by-step project plan.
No. It's a continuous cycle, a framework for governance.
And the center of gravity, the thing that keeps the PM from getting pulled off track, is written right there in the middle of the star.
Sustainable profitability of the offering.
That phrase seems to be the entire point.
It is the entire point. It's the survival mechanism for the company. The PM star acts like a cyclical checklist for the strategic health of the product. By rigorously working through all 7 points of the star throughout the year, the PM continuously guards that profitability.
It makes sure that, innovation isn't just for innovation's sake.
Right. It has to lead to better long-term margins. It ensures that cost-cutting doesn't accidentally destroy the product's core value to the customer.
So when a PM is totally overwhelmed by all that firefighting, they can just look at the star and ask themselves, okay, which point am I neglecting right now? Am I actually managing my portfolio, or am I just reacting to the market?
Exactly. It structures their time and priorities against that central financial mission.
Now, before we get into the 7 steps, the PM star model forces what it calls the portfolio approach.
Yes. This is designed to stop the PM from falling back into that trap of only focusing on a single product. It forces them to manage the whole ecosystem.
Managing the forest, not just the individual trees. The portfolio overview is defined as the complete set of offerings that are designed to meet all the various customer needs in the market segments you choose to serve.
And this comprehensive view is a strategic tool. By looking at the portfolio as a whole, the PM can start to proactively diagnose its health. Are there gaps where customers are being underserved?
Where a competitor could sneak in.
Right. Or are there too many overlapping products that are just cannibalizing each other's sales and confusing our own sales team? This approach lets you make these calculated strategic moves, like adding a complementary product that increases the lifetime value of a customer.
The source has a great illustrative example for this. It's a diagram that maps different product ranges against functionality and capacity.
That visual tool really shows the strategic intent in action.
It does.
If you picture the diagram, you see products aren't just, randomly thrown at the market. They're very deliberately positioned based on metrics like functionality and ampere capacity.
So for example, a basic low ampere product might be in the compact PSR range.
Right, and that product is targeting a cost-sensitive customer who only needs the bare essentials.
But then, as the power requirements scale up to, say, 1800 amps, and the functionality needs to be super sophisticated, you have to strategically offer something like the advanced range.
And that visualization is a physical representation of your strategic allocation. It tells your R&D team which capability buckets need future investment. It tells your sales team how to position the different offerings so they don't oversell a cheap product or undersell a high-margin advanced one.
So it makes sure the PM has coverage across the whole spectrum of customer needs, minimizing duplication and maximizing the margin on each differentiated offering.
It's a critical tool for both internal and external alignment.
Okay, let's start walking through the cycle. We begin clockwise, and the starting point is step 1. Know the market situation. This is the data gathering foundation, the intelligence operation.
And if this step is flawed, the entire strategy built on top of it is compromised.
It's built on sand.
Exactly. This step demands a continuous inflow of reliable information. Without it, all the decisions that come later are just guesswork. And given how much data is required, all the external volatility combined with internal performance, it has to be a CFT activity. The PM is relying on every function to feed them intelligence.
So what are the main categories of information they need to be collecting?
You can divide it into 2 buckets, external and internal. Let's start with external, which defines the market situation. The PM needs real, deep, competitive intelligence.
Not just who the competitors are.
No, much deeper. Their product roadmaps, their pricing strategies, their service commitments. They also need to understand the total addressable market, the market potential.
And the supply side today is incredibly volatile.
Incredibly. So they have to monitor the supplier situation. Are key components at risk because of geopolitics or a single source supplier? And finally, they need to be tracking the big secular market trends, things like digitalization, sustainability requirements, shifts in customer industries. That's the external context.
And then there's the reality check. What's actually happening inside our own company.
Right. The internal information is the mirror. This means analyzing financial indicators. Are margins eroding? Why are sales numbers different from the forecast? It also means tracking NPS values to see if customers are happy.
And the hard data on quality aspects.
Yes. Failure rates, return costs, how long it takes to repair things in the field. The controller and the after-sales and service teams are absolutely crucial for providing this internal data.
So the PM is basically acting as a chief intelligence officer for their product line.
That's a good way to put it.
They're synthesizing hard financial data, soft customer sentiment, and all these unpredictable external risks into one continuous stream of awareness. There's a huge analytical burden.
It is. But once they have that rich tapestry of external and internal information from step 1, they can move into step 2. Monitor existing portfolio, which then flows directly into step 3, manage portfolio.
This is the shift from just observing to taking strategic action.
It is. Monitoring reveals the problems. If your internal NPS scores are diving while a competitor is gaining share, something you learned in step 1, you monitor that gap. Then you manage the situation by, say, defining a new value proposition or kicking off a project to fix the quality issue.
So management is about drawing up concrete plans and activities to close those gaps or go after new opportunities.
And the required output of this whole management phase is the product plan. This is the strategic contract.
The blueprint.
The blueprint, exactly. The product plan has to explicitly show the strategic intent for the entire portfolio. It allocates resources, sets priorities, it addresses the big issues.
Like, is our portfolio incomplete? Do we need to develop a new product to fill a gap?
Or is an existing product facing huge margin pressure, meaning we need an aggressive cost-out plan now? It might even flag a product for strategic retirement, starting that end-of-life process.
The source is very insistent that to make these big decisions in step 3, you absolutely must have done the work in the first 2 sections of the PM Star.
It's non-negotiable. You can't ensure the portfolio develops in a healthy, sustainable way, which is the core mission, unless you have that foundation of information about the market and your own internal reality. The product plan is essentially the PM's thesis, and it has to be based on data.
Okay, so once the product plan is drafted, we move to step 4, clarify customer value. Now we're zooming in on the customer.
Right, and this uses that classic strategic tool, segmentation, targeting, and positioning, the SDP model.
And the goal here is to make sure that the strategic intent from the product plan is actually going to work in the real world.
It's all about clarity and being unique. In these complex global markets, if your value proposition isn't crystal clear, you're going to fail. The STP model is the surgical tool you use to get that focus.
Let's start with the S segmentation.
Segmentation is about carving up the world, defining the global markets or sectors you operate in and grouping them based on relevant characteristics. Could be by industry, by geography, by company size. You need input from your sales units for this.
Once you've carved up the world, you have to decide where you're actually going to play. That's T, targeting.
And this is arguably the most important resource allocation decision a PM makes. Out of all those possible segments, which ones will we actively focus on?
The visual in the source shows a clear hierarchy.
Yes. Priority 1 segments are the must-win battles where you invest significant resources. Priority 2 are segments with potential, maybe you serve them with a slight modification. And crucially, it shows segments that are explicitly not targeted.
So targeting is as much about deciding what you're not going to do.
It's a hard no decision. A successful PM makes sure the entire CFT knows who we are selling to, and just as importantly, who we are not selling to. This stops resources from being spread too thin.
And finally, P, positioning. This is about the narrative.
The narrative and the product features, yes. Positioning is about reviewing and improving your standing within each of those targeted segments. How are we different? Is our core value that we're cheaper?
Yeah.
Or higher quality? Or that we have unique service capabilities?
The ultimate goal of this entire STP process is to build a unique, clear value proposition.
And that value proposition is what justifies your price. It's what differentiates you from the competitors you identified back in step 1. And it's what tells your sales team exactly why a customer should buy your product instead of someone else's.
These steps have to be sequential. You define your strategy in the product plan, then you use STP to make that strategy executable and clear to the customer.
That's the flow.
We're now moving into the execution part of the cycle, the actual creation and delivery of value. Step 5 is plan new product portfolio.
This is that critical transition point where the PM acts as the go-between, translating the strategic intent from the first 4 steps into concrete technical requirements for the back-end teams.
They're managing the innovation funnel.
That's a great way to describe it. They're managing this continuous flow of ideas, and not just for brand new flagship products, it's also for necessary modifications, upgrades, and efficiency improvements for existing products.
Where do all these ideas come from?
All over the place. Externally, they come from customers complaining about pain points, from the market where you see gaps, from suppliers who have a new technology, and internally from R&D breakthroughs or suggestions from the factory floor.
And the PM has to be the objective filter for all of it.
Exactly. Prioritizing these ideas against the strategy in the product plan and the financial realities from the controller.
The source gives us a really clear 4-step process for this planning. It looks like a system for managing risk.
It absolutely is. Step 1 is idea generation. That's just sourcing the initial sparks. Step 2 is project prioritization. This is where those ideas get rigorously vetted against the strategy.
This is where you develop a formal business case, right?
Usually, yes. You'd outline the required investment, the projected return, the market risks, all before you commit any serious capital.
Then step 3, the roadmap.
This is where you organize those prioritized projects over time. You build this long-term visual representation of how the portfolio is going to evolve.
And finally, step 4, project execution.
Once a project is prioritized and on the roadmap, it's formally initiated and governed, usually with a standardized phase gate methodology. The source even mentions the ABB gate model, which is very common in these large industrial companies.
Okay, let's just expand on that for a second. For anyone listening, what exactly is a phase gate and why is it so important for a PM?
A phase gate is a project management system designed specifically for the high-risk world of new product development. A phase is a stage of work, like concept development or prototype testing.
And the gate is the decision point at the end of that phase.
It's a mandatory decision point. At each gate, senior management and the CFT review the project against a very strict set of criteria.
Technical feasibility, financial viability.
Market commitment, resource availability, all of it. And this is where projects can be killed or put on hold or sent back for more work. It forces discipline into the process. It stops the organization from throwing good money after bad.
So the PM works closely with R&D, using their data and influence to make sure their projects meet the standards at each gate and keep moving toward launch.
It's the formal mechanism for managing development risk.
So once a product makes it through that gauntlet of phase gates, we get to step 6, offering to market. The launch. The moment of truth.
And this requires the PM to pivot again. They move from governing R&D to mobilizing the entire front-end organization for a sales push.
A strong launch needs a really comprehensive launch plan.
And that plan has to be developed way in advance and ready to go the second the product is technically ready. A launch is a huge synchronized effort. It's so much more than just a press release.
So what are the key inputs for a good launch plan?
It starts by defining clear sales targets for the sales organization, and then you have to articulate the core buying reasons for the customer.
And those buying reasons have to connect directly back to the unique value proposition you defined way back in step 4.
Perfectly. If your positioning was superior energy efficiency, then your launch plan has to arm the sales team with certified data and proof points to back that claim up.
Then you need the organizational muscle to back it up, the market launch commitment.
Yes, this is resource allocation. You have to ensure there's enough buying support, so inventory, spare parts, a ready supply chain, and critically, selling support for the sales teams.
Things like training, demo units, dedicated marketing campaigns.
And the PM's job is to get commitment from operations and sales to actually deliver on all of that.
And the execution itself.
That's about running the specific launch activities, monitoring the initial reaction from the market, and being ready to make quick launch adaptations based on that early feedback. The whole goal is to support the sales teams while they're in front of the customer.
Now, throughout this whole development and launch process, the source highlights one thing that has to be continuous.
Communication with internal and external stakeholders.
Right. And since the PM is leading with that authority, communication isn't just about sending status reports, it's their primary tool for influence.
It's how they create organizational movement. This continuous, tailored communication is what creates commitment. Commitment to the new product, yes, but also commitment to the overall strategic direction in the product plan.
So if the PM has done a good job communicating the why, the strategic justification, based on all that data from step 1, the CFT is much more likely to commit the resources needed for a successful launch in step 6.
That constant, transparent flow of information is really the engine that makes the PM STAR framework run.
And that brings us to the final step that completes the cycle, step 7, governance. This loops everything back to the center's sustainable profitability.
Right. Governance is what ensures all the activities from the other 6 steps stay strategically aligned and are actually executed effectively. It's where accountability is locked in.
And this is where our source uses that fantastic quote from the Eisenhower principle. Plans are worthless, but planning is everything.
It's such a potent quote in this context.
It really is. It suggests that all the hard work that goes into defining the product strategy, the data gathering, the portfolio reviews, the cross-functional arguments, is actually more valuable than the final polished product plan document itself.
Why is that? Why is the act of planning so valuable even if the plan changes?
Because the planning process itself builds resilience. The source says that the more comprehensive your planning is, the more flexible and adaptable your organization becomes to the fast changes in the surrounding world.
So if you've really invested in analyzing different scenarios back in step 1, when a supply shock hits or a competitor launches a price war, you don't panic.
You just pivot to a contingency plan that you already thought about during the planning phase. The process forces everyone to question assumptions and build consensus, which is invaluable when you need to act fast.
So the governance step is about structuring that ongoing reality. How does that work in practice?
Well, it's structured through a yearly cycle of activities. This organizes the PM's whole strategic workload and stops them from just reacting to the crisis of the week.
It also involves continuously refining local and global roles and responsibilities, making sure everyone is clear on who owns cost, price, and volume in different markets. And critically, it formalizes how PMs lead without authority in cross-functional teams. It keeps that CFT structure healthy and effective.
I think the ultimate point is that the process of developing the plan has to involve all the key stakeholders. You have to generate that commitment during the planning phase.
And governance ensures that commitment holds, and that the work stays aligned with that volatile but absolutely essential core goal of sustainable profitability.
So this deep dive really gives us a crystal clear identity for the product manager. They are the strategic owner of the product's entire life cycle.
The financial driver, always maintaining that holistic helicopter view across the entire portfolio.
And their primary tool for getting anything done, given their weird spot in the org chart, is leading that cross-functional team.
The CFT. They have to leverage influence, their network, strategic clarity. They have to lead without any formal authority. It turns soft skills into hard business tools.
And the mechanism for their continuous success is this PM STAR framework. It's not a rigid process.
No, it's a disciplined, cyclical structure that ensures sustainable profitability is achieved by continuously engaging with those 7 critical areas.
From market intelligence and portfolio planning.
To customer value clarification, through development and launch, and then right back into continuous governance.
The intention of this source material seems pretty clear. It's to give everyone, whether you're in R&D or sales or operations, a clear understanding of what the product management function actually does.
Right. If you understand the PM's mission, you can collaborate more effectively. You can understand why they're asking for resources for a particular project, and ultimately, you can help the product succeed.
Okay, so the PM STAR is a powerful framework. It's built on this idea that you can codify your strategic intent into a product plan, but its reliance on step 1, know the market situation, poses a very modern challenge.
That information gathering is the bedrock of the whole thing.
It is. And the source acknowledges that these fast changes in the surrounding world force PMs to constantly review the business model itself. The PM STAR is built for disciplined iteration. But given the absolute volatility we see today, global supply chains breaking, AI changing everything, competitors making moves overnight, how effectively can a PM sustain their strategic intent, their multi-year product plan, when that external data is fundamentally unstable?
That's the question, isn't it? Does today's volatility demand that the PM shift from the STARS cycle of an annual strategic review to something more like a state of near-constant fundamental business model adaptation?
So is the goal of sustainable profitability becoming less about just refining your current model?
And more about trying to anticipate which business model is even going to survive the next 18 months? Does that force Step 7 governance to become the engine of almost existential change rather than just strategic alignment?
A fascinating pivot, shifting the PM from being a steward of the product to being the architect of the company's very survival. Something for you to think about until our next deep dive.